Hello guys, very good morning class. Can you please confirm, am I audible clearly and you guys can see the screen? Yeah, Tanvi, good morning. Good morning Pranjali. Good morning Akshata. Diksha, good morning. Sushmita, Jyoti, Sakshi, Sadia, Manisha, good morning. All right, now today in a session, yesterday we guys have discussed with about how to solve the question one kind of questions and how to check with the logic and how to make them convert into the respective approach of a coding part and how to solve the test cases. Okay, related to the same, today also we guys are going to check with how we are going to solve the rest of questions and how we are going to deal with that questions properly in the coding aspects. So here is the first question on a screen. I'm going to share that question on a screen right at here. You guys needs to read a question and tell me what must be the correct aspect to solve these questions right at there. So here, the first question on a screen. I hope it is visible. Please confirm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Now, please read the question properly. Check with the input specification. Check with the output specifications, the examples along with the explanations. And then related to the same, I want you to, tell me or solve that logics for the code. Here I am trying to putting them in a same window. All right. I hope you guys have gone through with the question. Now, anyone from the class can got to know what is the logic for the application. Please let me know. Write it here from the Facebook Live, also YouTube Live, and the student who joined the Zoom meeting too. Yes, guys, what is the logic? Can any one of you please let me know what is the logic that you have understood? As per my guess, when you are trying to read these questions, you might thinking it is quite simple to implement. But when you are reading the question description and the inputs and output, definitely you will be getting stop at the some point where you guys cannot able to write with that logic properly. Okay, let us do understood that logic write it here. But before moving to the next, how many of you has fall with the same scenario? Can you please confirm your name or just put a quick yes or no in a chat or in the Facebook live or in a YouTube live? So how many of you gone through with the, such a behavior, guys? That initially you feel that the logic is easy, but when you're trying to read with the question description, input outputs, then how many of you have gone through with these kind of details? Right now, understood this scenario, how does it is going to be implement, and what kind of implementation that we have to be followed with. Well, to implement this, the question here, the name that spatial array. Okay, what is this spatial array? It mentioned right it here. The array has a spatial integers if that integers can be formed. Okay, which means the array is deal with integer number, and if that number, if it is getting formed by calculating the sum of number and its reverse. Okay, if I'm finding out the sum of the numbers and its reverse, and if I'm getting that same number, then that integer from the array is must be the spatial integer from our array. And we have to find out how many integers are there. Okay, we are not going to show what are these spatial integers from the array. We have to show their count. Okay, what we have to represent? We have to represent the count, how many spatial integers are there. And it's mentioning here the trailing zeros. Okay, while calculating the reverse of a number, let us say I have this number, and if I'm going to find out the reverse of this, then reverse must be this one. So if any trailing zeros are available, means zero at the beginning, in that case, these zeros are going to remove another number formed without that zero. So that is the node that we're supposed to have, which means while converting them to the number to that other number, so we have to convert them to the integers so that the trailing zeros can be got removed. Okay, input specification here, it is as the array of string, okay, which represents a number and the size of array. So we can input vice versa. First, we will take a size, and then we are going to take the array of inputs of the numbers. And then we have to print how many counts of that variable we will have. Those acts as a spatial integers. As a part of example here, we guys are having the array with the 22 and the 1 to 1. So if you find out, okay, the respective elements, those are spatial integers or not. So in this case, the output is 2. Why the output is 2? Because as per our logic, if I'm going to find out any number, okay, which sum is again, that sum is going to form with the same integer number, and if we are going to reverse them, then their sum is also going to form with the same number right there. So if I'm going to check with 22, so 11 plus 11, that becomes as a 22. So if you are going to reverse with the same number, that returns that same number again, and the sum of that all the both of numbers are again returns with the same value. And for 121, we we have this 29 plus 92, that also returns with 121. So we have a count of 2. So that the count of 2 is going to return this array. And similarly, we have this other inputs available, that is 12 and 3. So for the 12 and 3, again the 12 is going to form, write it here as 6 plus 6. And as we have one digit number, so the 3 also going to be formed. So sorry, just 6 plus 6 is going to form. For the 3, we cannot able to work on the input. So the output comes here as a 1. Now we have to write a code, and the logic for the code is again, we are going to create a function, let us say spatial array. That function I'm going to create, and I'm going to pass this array and this size of array to the function. Okay, after this, I'm going to create a count variable and set it to the 0. And as I want the count, which means I have to iterate from the array, and I have to check whether the element returns with their sum of numbers with the same value or not. And to do that, so what I'm going to do here, first I'm going to iterate from the entire array. So we require a for loop, and once we are starting iteration on the array, we are going to form that current element of array in a 2 different aspects. Okay, one, I'm going to divide them, and I'm going to form the floor of that element, and other one, I'm going to form the seal of that element. Well, after forming the floor and seal, we are going to iterate from the respective value of floor to seal, and therefore each and every number we are going to check their sum is matches with the data, and their reverse are going to match or not. And if that is there, then in that case, we are going to increment the count by the +1. And every time we are going to reduce this floor by -1, and we are going to increment this seal by the +1. so that we can able to form that count along with the same values, and then we can able to run right at there. Okay, let us do understood with them along with the code. I hope everyone in the call has understood with what is the actual logic for this coding question. Can you guys please confirm right it here? Is that clear with the logic?
Yes, sir.
What about others from the Facebook and YouTube live? Right, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great. Okay, let us try to implement this. So I'm going to remove everything from my screen and let us open the editor. So here I'm going to open the editor and I'm going to do the changes on the last file we got created, that is coding day2. So here we guys have to write a code. So as per our input, what I'm going to do next is simply I'm going to create enter the size of array first, and then I'm going to enter the array elements. So that is list of map of input integer by converting them to the integer along with the split. And then I'm going to pass this to the function. Let us create a function right at here. The function name is let us say the spatial array, and I'm going to pass this array and the size of n to the function. We are going to write this code later, and from this function we are going to return the actual count, so that we are going to store it in a result variable by calling them, and then we are going to print that result right at here. That must be the count of our spatial number. So as per our logic, what we have to do is I have to iterate from the array and find out the count. Now to find out the count, I'm going to create a variable as count and initially equals to the 0. Now as per our program, we have to iterate from the elements of array. So I'm going to say for element in array. Well, you guys may have this concern for some of the code. I have uses this kind of for loop for I in a range of the size of array, and for some of the code we have uses directly for element in array. Okay, now here the important aspects that you have to understand whenever you guys are working with the array logic along with the index. In that cases, you should have to followed with the first for loop. Okay, remember this. If you are following with the first for loop, which means the logic is related to the index. Now in this case, the logic is related to the value, then we should use the second for loop so that it will help us to work on that time complexities properly. So we are not writing any other code like, to access the element of array from the index, you have to write array of I. So here in dynamic for loop, we can directly access the current element by that ELE as a variable, and we can able to work with so far. Now, as per the logic, what we have to do, as I wanted to find out the floor and seal of the element. Okay, now to find out the floor and seal of the element, I required the math module. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to import this math module here, and then I'm going to find out that floor and seal. Let us say I'm going to store that floor into the variable called as FLR. Okay, floor adds this math dot floor, and we are going to find out this floor by dividing the two, and then we have to find out the seal. So let us say seal SEL, this variable I'm going to create, and math dot seal function and element divided by 2. So we have find out the floor and seal of our variable. Now we have to iterate through the loop where the value of floor should be greater than 0. And in this case, we don't know how many iterations are going to be work. Maybe the element of 5 digit, maybe the element of 4 digit, or maybe the element of single digit. In that case, we are going to use a while loop to deal with that all the options. So I'm going to say here while, and my condition, I wanted to iterate the loop till the value of floor is greater than 0. So I'm going to write here the floor. If the floor is greater than 0, in that case, we are going to take the value of floor and the value of seal so that we can able to check with their comparisons with the reverse of number. If that follows, then that respective count I have to increment. And to calculate this reverse, what I'm going to do right at here is I'm going to convert them to the string, and the string of -1, that would be a very easy task to perform the same. So I'm going to create here the two variable. Let us say first is T1, that is str of this floor, and second is T2, that is again str of C. Okay. Now we are going to check with their reversing. If that reverse is matches any one of the reverse is getting matched, then we have to increment our that count variable by the +1. So let us write that both of the conditions using OR operator. So here I'm going to write if T1 is equals to that T2 of ::1, or the T2 is equals to that T1 of ::1. So if that reverse of this both of the number matches to the same value, then I'm going to say this count variable is increment by the +1. And after completion of this if loop, I have to increment, sorry, first we have to decrement the floor. So I'm going to say this floor is -=1 and this seal is +=1. So that they are going to be run continuously and checking with each and every value those has been formed by this floor and seal. And there itself, it is going to find out that respective value of spatial array. And after completion of these while loop and after completion of these for loop, we are going to return that count. All right, let us save this code and let us try to run this code along with the same input right at here. So let us run the code. So we have an input. The size of array is 2 and the array elements, I guess, 22 and 121. So here the return, the count is going to be returns as a 5, but the actual output is 2. Let me check where we are getting it wrong. So there might be at this condition. Okay, let us check what is this floor of that element is going to form. So I'm going to say here as import math, and what is the value of seal and floor that we are forming with, that we guys are going to check here. So I'm going to say math dot floor of this 22 divided by 2. So it returns 11, and math dot floor, sorry, we are going to check with seal 22 divided by 2. So that is also forms with 11. So that is initially. So if it is getting increment or decrement, that does not with the same. Okay, let me check. Are we passing the array and that n correctly? Yes, we are passing the array and n correctly. So the value of floor must be greater than or equals to 0. Then we are converting this floor and the seal to the string. We are checking their each and every comparisons. That's completely fine. So T1 equals to T2 of reverse and T2 equals to T1 of reverse. That's, and then if it is there, we are incrementing the count. If it is not there, we are decrementing the floor by -1 and seal by the +1. Yeah, that's right. Well, what is wrong? Let me check that count. What is the value of T1 and T2 that is going to be formed? Maybe certain conditions that we have to write. So let me run the code. So here again 2, 1, 2, 1. So we are getting this 11 plus 11. That's right. 56. Okay, for which value does it going to be forms with? 56 and 65. What is the sum of 56 and 65, guys? I guess it returns with the same. Plus 65. So that is also 121. And their reverse are also getting matched. Well, for 47 and 74, that is also their reverse are getting matched. And their sum must be of again 121. 33, 38, 83, that's fine. 29, 92 will be already there in a picture. So actually Okay, whatever the results we are getting, that's satisfied with our code. That's completely fine. But how they have mentioned the output as a 2? Let me check with the program properly whether we have collected the data very well. 121 can able to form with a lot of values. In that approach, um, by calculating the sum of number and its reverse. Okay, by calculating the sum of numbers and its reverse, well, we have did the same. Okay, 29, when it comes to this respective output, 29, what is that? Sum is again 11 and this is also 11. Well, the output that we are forming, that also returns with the same 5 and 6 11, 6 and 5 11, 4 and 7 11. This is also 11, this is 11, this is 11, this is 11, this is 11. So where we have made the mistake? uh, 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 and this 22. Okay, let me check on the test cases 2. What is the test cases 2? That is 2, 12 and 3. Okay, let us run the code. That is 2, 12 and 3. And yes, the output returns with 1. I guess there might be some mistake while collecting the information, because it returns the same result. Their output must be of 5, but here we are getting the same output as a 1. There might be some mistake at here while collecting this coding question. I hope you guys have gone through with the problem and return that code very perfectly. I hope you have everyone in the call as getting understood it from YouTube Live and from Facebook Live also. Can you guys please confirm right at here? All right, now let us getting switch to the next question right at here. I'm going to show that question on your screen. You guys have to check that question and tell me the exact logic for the same. Here I'm going to open the question. We have to find out only the spatial array elements. No needs to print the count. Which means, okay, logic is quite same. Maybe it's a count or how many spatial arrays. That's right. We have to find out that spatial array. Exactly. So there itself, we don't want to increment a count. We can just able to print that data. Yeah, that's correct. But the logic is again going to be followed with the same. Now let us switch it to the next question right at here. Please gone through with the details properly. All right, what is the logic for this, guys? Can you please tell me what you have understood? Yeah, that's right. We have to add the last character of the string to the front, and again the same approaches the Harry and Potters are going to be works with, and we have to check like how many turns that is going to be done, and then later like those are matches with the same input given of the string. So what is the problem statement says right at here is we have these two different elements. Okay, we have the two different person, one is Harry and other is Potter, and they are going to took a word string. And in this problem statement, Harry is going to choose numbers. Okay, and that m numbers given in a hidden test cases as it should be less than the length of the string. And the Potter is going to choose n numbers that is also less than to that length of the string. So Harry is going to cut m alphabets. Okay, from here, from where this alphabets are going to cut. So these alphabets are going to cut from the end of the string, and they are going to add it to the beginning of the string and give it to the Potter. And the Potter also going to perform the same task. What the Potter is going to perform again, then the Potter will also cut how many alphabets? N alphabets from the end of the string and add it to the beginning and given to the Harry. And this process will continue until we are going to get the original word string back. So we have to return that number of turns, how many number of turns that could be done when all these things are going to be working. So we are going to read the actual input string word, and then we are going to read the value of m and the value of m. M is the number of the characters to be get added and deleted from the end from the Harry, and this n will be number of characters that going to be performed by the Potters. So for this example, you guys can see we have this input where our input is A, B, C, D, E, F. Input 2, that is what the value of M is 1. So Harry is going to delete one character and add it to the beginning. And input 3, that is what 2. So which going to be delete and add the two characters from that operations that we got performed and add it to the beginning of the string. And we have written with that number of turns as a 4. Okay, let us understood with this with the given explanation. So we have this string available ABC, that is capital DEF. So the Harry will have 1 M, the value of M as a 1, so that this character is going to added or deleted from this string and added to the beginning. After this, after the turn 1, you guys can see the string will become like this. F is going to add it to the beginning. So F, A, B, C, D, E. After this turn 1, the turn 2 is going to done by the Potter. So Potter has to delete two elements from that beginning, sorry, from the end. So from the end, we have this DE. So it is going to add it to the beginning. So it becomes DEF ABC. Again, after performing the Potter term, the Harry turns is going to came in picture, and again the Harry is going to delete one character. What is the value of M? That is 1. So these character is going to delete and add it to the beginning of that string. So it becomes what again? C, D, E, F, A, B. And again the two characters are going to delete from the end and add it to the beginning. And this is where we are going to form the input string given. And so the number of turns happened right here is 4, and that is the reason we are comes the output as a 4. Now this is the logic that we have to implement, and to implement these logic we are going to follow with some certain techniques. Okay, let us do with this. So again, to the same file I am going to do that changes. So as per our inputs, so let me delete this everything. So as per our inputs, we have to read an entire string. We have to read the value m and n. So let us read that first. So here I'm going to say string 1 without inputting messages, and the value of m, let us say, which is integer input, and the value of n, that is also the integer input. And what I'm going to do next is either we can able to pass it to the function, or we can simply write that entire code right at here. So the last question there itself, we have passes to the function. Now for this question, I'm not going to pass it to the function. We are directly writing that entire changes at here. So as I wanted to find out the turns, so I'm going to create a variable as turns equals to 0. Now, as it's string in nature, so string is completely immutable in Python. So we cannot perform the deletion and insertion operation on a string particularly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to convert them to the any mutable container. Mutable container, which means what? Where we guys are going to perform the insertion and deletion operation on that array. And to do with that, I'm going to use that mutable container as a list. So very basically that I wanted to perform the task here is to convert that entire string to the list first. So let us do with that. So here I'm going to create a variable as string list equals to list of that input string, so that we can able to perform that operation. And we guys don't know how many times this number of turns are going to happen. So that may be of 1, that may be of 100, that may be of 50. So we don't know how many iterations are going to run. So I'm going to use here an infinite while loop, and that while loop I'm going to break on that condition. If my formed that string is matches with the given input string, then I'm going to break it. So here I'm going to use while with the true as a condition. So as per our problem statement, the turn 1 is must be of the Harry, and Harry first is going to remove that character from the end and add it to the beginning. And that characters are m characters, and the value of m will be of anything at a runtime, maybe of 1, maybe of 2, maybe of 5. So to do that task, I'm going to write a for loop here. So for I in a range of m. So as I wanted to remove the character from the end, so I'm going to use the pop function from the string to delete the character from the end. So I'm going to say right it here. So first I'm going to store that element to the element variable, and that string list dot pop. So using the pop function, we guys can able to delete the character or the element those are there at the last index. After deleting this character, we have to add it to the starting index of the list. And to add that character to the starting index, I'm going to use the insert function with the 0th index with that element. So here I'm going to say the string list dot insert. Okay, where I wanted to insert on the starting index, that is what 0, and this element is going to insert right at here. Now this is the turn 1 that is getting completed. So after completion of this for loop, I'm going to increment my turns variable by the +1. Now whatever the string that we have formed, this string I have to check whether it matches with the given input string or not. And to do that, so here I'm going to compare that both of the elements. So if that string list is equals to the list of our entered original string, if that is matches, then I'm going to break this while loop. Okay, if that is not matches, then what I wanted to do is again I have to perform the task for the potter. Well, the potter again performs the same execution, that delete the n characters from the last of the string and add it to the beginning. Again, to do that, so we are going to write a for loop. So for I in the range of n, and here we are going to delete that respective element from the end, and we are going to add it to the beginning of that string. And again, after completion of this, I'm going to first increment this turns by the +1, and I am going to check whether this string list is matches with the original list or not. If it is matches, we are going to break these while loop. So continuously using this while, we are getting the exact count or exact number of turns that are going to perform on this respective conditions that we will have. And after completion of this while loop, I'm going to print that number of turns on a screen. So let us save this code and let us implement with this code along with the given test cases. So here I'm going to put them in this corner. So we have the value of a string as ABCDEF. So let me run the code. So this is the string ABCDEF. The value of M is 1 and the value of N is 2. So how many turns that we are going to receive? Again, the turns we are going to receive as a 4. Now let us cross check the same output with the test cases too. So in the test cases, we have ABC, and the value of M and N is again 1 and 1. So let us try to implement them. So here I'm going to rerun the program, and our string is ABC. The value of M is 1. The value of N is 1. So here the output that we have received as a 3, and that is matches with the given test cases output. So this is how we guys can able to works with that code properly. Here, I hope you guys have understood the logic and the code given in this scenario. Yes, guys, is that clear with this? Can you confirm here in quick yes or no in the chat box? Right, yes, sir, yes, sir. Okay, that's fine. Now for today, we guys are going to stop at here. So we have seen these two very important coding questions, to make them solve, how to be them, and simultaneously how to write the code that matches with the given test cases. Again, tomorrow with our same beginning, like with the same time of 6:30, we guys are going to connect, and there itself we guys are going to check with multiple approach on solving the coding questions and how to be deal with that so far. Okay, so let us meet by tomorrow again with the same time of 6:30.